Today we are going to look at the Super Tinytendo case for Raspberry Pi 3. This case, whether you may or may not be aware of it, it is going for $30 on Amazon, and shipping and handling is $3.99. Unfortunately, it's not available for Prime members. But what I like about this case is, number one, it hasn't sold out, the price hasn't doubled or tripled, and it has not disappeared. It's still for purchase right now as of 1:41 a.m. August 8th, 2017. So yeah, she's still up there. But we're going to look at this case, and I actually have a Raspberry Pi right here that I'm all ready to install into, although it will be a temporary install because I have a Banana Pi M2 on the way, and that's actually going to go into here because it's a little bit more powerful, and I want to try and run some Nintendo 64 games. Don't know if it's going to be able to handle it, but we'll see. But onto the case, the magic case. I've already pulled the screws out of the bottom. There's 4 screws on the bottom. They're actually pretty sizable screws that actually hold this beast together. And then once you get it pulled apart, you can see, you got your holes here for the USB ports and the RJ45 jack, the network jack, as some people know it. Put that off to the side there. The buttons do not work. They're all, pretty much standard in place. They're glued in there in place. But the case is pretty good looking case. Yeah, as you can see there, it says Collector Craft right underneath the bottom. That's who actually made the case. It's not a 3D printed case. This is actually injected molded plastic. So there's none of your gradient lines of resolution, which I'm not a big fan of that. That's why I haven't bought a 3D case yet. I do know that you can use acetone to give it a basically acetone bath and, like flatten it out, but then it makes it all super shiny. Then you would have to take it apart and then hit it with a flat matte finish to bring it back down from super glossy specs. Now, I opted for the model with the fan on board. They call it a super big fan, but it's about, I'd say, 1.25 inches by 1.25 inches. Right now, I'm on the site, and it just shows the one with the large cooling fan so far. And as you can see inside the Raspberry Pi itself, we actually have nice little screw holes, which they provide the screws for to hold your Raspberry Pi down in place. There's the tiny little screws that come with that, which is pretty snazzy. It just doesn't sit in there, it doesn't pop in place. You actually physically put it into the case and screw it down with 4 retaining screws, which I like that. That way, if you ever transport it to a friend's house, or you gotta go to your parents' house for Thanksgiving or the holidays or something, it's not gonna be jiggling around, or you might not have like some of them, you could have a post break on the inside, or a retaining post, and then it's just like shuffling around the inside, and it's just annoying. But enough of that. We will get to putting the Raspberry Pi in the case. Now, the instructions that come with the case itself, let's try and get them into focus here. As you notice, my video is a lot less shakier than normal. I went on to GeekWish and found a little arm that I clipped to my TV to actually hold everything in place. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on this here. There you go. As it shows here, you actually want to get your power pins, your power cord for your little jack here. The Raspberry Pi on its GPIO pins. Let me get it out here. As you can see, it goes 1, 2. So it starts at the bottom here. And I have no little pointer. Screwdriver. That's pin 1, and then the one up above it is pin 2. It's kind of the opposite of say a networking switch, where networking switches, number 1 starts on the top, and then the even numbers are all on the bottom. On GPIO, the way you look at it, the odd numbers are on the bottom, even numbers are on the top. And according to the instructions, which they point out, you know, where you want to plug the fan into. It's a super quiet fan too. You can't even hear it run unless you put your ear up to the case, which I like that. So what we do is we have to have power hitting number 4, which is the second pin over from the left. When you hold the Raspberry Pi like this in this orientation, it would be the second pin over from the left. So we just plug our little magical fan in like so. Voila, it's magic. Then you just have to place your Raspberry Pi into the case. Then you want to line up your screw holes, which is easy enough to do. You just line up your HDMI port and your power port and your analog out port. Of course, then you have to start mounting your screws into the Raspberry Pi. That way she does not slide around. And it's easy enough to do. They're already pre-threaded because I should have did an unboxing. I realize that now because the way it came is the screws were all actually in the holes. So there was no guesswork, and there was like, oh, is it pre-threaded? Do I have to thread it? You know, how's that work? One main important thing that you have to follow is when you install the Raspberry Pi into this case, you have to remove your SD card. It will not install. Your SD card will be hanging out a little bit there on the lip, up underneath here on the bottom. You don't want that hanging out when you go to install that. You could break your SD card, or you could break the SD card reader off of the board itself, and then you have to buy a new board. I mean, I know they're only $35, but, you know, to me, I'd be like, it'd just irritate me that I'd have to buy a new board, you know. Oh, and she shifted a little bit. Did it? I think it shifted. Nope. It was just an optical illusion. And when I put my screws in for when I'm installing motherboards and whatnot, I follow the general rule of installing lug nuts on a tire. You know, usually you put in your first bolt, your first screw, then you skip the next hole, and then you go on to the next hole after that. Basically like a crisscross pattern if you only have 4 bolts or 4 screws. I find that's the easiest way to do, so that way you do not torque down your board. And I just get the screws right down in there just so they barely touch the motherboard there of the Raspberry Pi. That way I don't torque them down. Not yet. Well, not really gonna torque them down, but I just want to get it at even pressure. I know it probably wouldn't matter really if you think about it, but I like to be a little bit cautious. And then the 4th screw, she's right over here by your analog out or your audio out, however you choose to use that port. Myself, I have to use it as analog out when I'm in my bedroom because I have a Panasonic VR and it was hit by lightning a few years ago. And the daughter board, which has the HDMI ports on it, does not work. But want to take it over to, you know, a friend's house or whatnot, boom, I can plug it into HDMI and everything is pretty cool. Everybody loves it. They're going to love it even more after I get it into this case. You just kind of want to tuck your wire in a little bit. You don't want it getting caught in the fan, which it's easy enough. You just, depending on where you want to tuck it into, that'd probably be easier right there. And I fumbled the screwdriver. You want to tuck it in right like this, right like so. And just kind of use the tip of your screwdriver to just gently nudge the wire down in there. Trying to get the wire to flip, but yeah, that's probably best right there. Just kind of get it to curl up just a little bit, like a little pigtail. Get it shoved in there. Okay. And you're probably wondering, I probably should show you the bottom of the board. There are hardly any other air vents on this when you seal it together. I mean, it will pull in air from where your RJ45 jack and your USB ports are at on your Raspberry Pi. It will pull in air from there. But on the bottom of the case, here's where the fan is at itself. It's pushing air out the bottom, and compounding, it's pulling air into these holes, through and through SD slot, and in through your USB port area. So let's go ahead and get the screws finalized here, get that main case put together here. Which they do go back in a little bit kind of rough, but I'm using a tiny screwdriver for a bigger screw head, which could be a cause for disaster. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This standard Phillips screw head. Doesn't look like it with my ginormous monkey hands here, and here I have a number 1 Stanley small bit screwdriver. It's just going in there. It's kind of wobbling around a little bit. I suggest using a little bit bigger screwdriver. But my tools are out in the garage, and I don't feel like waking up the neighbors because they're kind of bitchy around here. Bad enough they don't like fireworks, which I think is unpatriotic. But hey, to each his own, See, I gotta kind of work that in there. And sorry if my voice sounds kind of hoarse, but I slept with the window open last night and it got down to 45 degrees over here. So, yeah, that was fun. Oh, that one went in really nice. Actually, the last 3 went in really nice. This one made me work for it here. Come on now, cooperate. Guess I just didn't get it in right the first time. There we go. Now, oh, crap, I put it together, and I forgot to point out one cool little feature. There is a hole here for the LED light, but unfortunately, I have LEDs that are larger than standard. Time to tear it back down again. But it's easier to do second time around. That way, if you ever need to replace your board or you want to put in a beefier board, probably shouldn't spin that around like that. When you want to put in a beefier board, you can always just pull out your 4 screws, throw in your beefier board, whether it be a Banana Pi M2, which is, I've got one coming on the way. I'm going to test it and see how much beefier she is than the Raspberry Pi. Everybody's telling me that it could actually run a lot more than the Raspberry Pi, but hey, we'll find out. But as I'm about to show you here, got this LED here. This is a bigger LED than normal. I mean, it's not huge by any standards, but it has issues fitting into this hole right here because she's a little bit long. But I did find some LEDs on Amazon. They're I call them button LEDs. I know that's not the right way to say it. It's probably like a tablet LED. But if you look at this LED, it's like twice the circumference, but it's not as tall. It's only about 2/3 the length. So it's literally like a pill tablet kind of LED. And it looks like it'll sit right down in there nicely. And you will see a notch right here. But you don't necessarily need your LED going into that notch, because if you have one of those big pill tablet type LEDs, the button LED sitting in there, like a button type LED sitting in there, and those things are pretty bright, so it will shine right through there. I have a couple at work, but they're green, and I don't know if I want to really use it, because I know it sounds kind of silly, but I want to go back to like the almost like the old school way. People suggest putting in blue LEDs in there, orange, purple. I mean, the purple I could see because you got your purple buttons on top. That would match. But being bright purple, I don't know. You probably have to put a little bit of, cut a little bit of, if somebody's got some leftover film stock from taking 35mm pictures, you cut a little bit off of that and slide it in front of there if it's too bright, and it'll dim it down a little bit. but it'll still retain its color. But yeah, my red LED was just too huge to put in there because I was watching another video and ETA Prime was talking about putting these kind of jumper leads, which I handily have some on hand because I get hacker boxes every month in the mail, and I got a whole set of these guys, and they're double-ended female, which that works out because then you could just literally, if I don't juggle my LED all over the place, that is just hilarious. Come here. Here's your LED. You could just insert your LED lead into there. I'm not going to push it too far because I don't want it in there permanently because it's too big. And just drop my LED. But when you go, so say like if you're going to install an LED and you have your double-ended female jumper leads, your positive is right down here, and then your negative is at the southern cross, you could say. Then pop it right in there. If I have that backwards, please forgive me. All you have to do is flip them around. I mean, if anything, you burn out like an LED that you paid like 20 cents for, because you can get them on Amazon. It's like a pack of 10 LEDs for like $1.50, maybe $2, depending on what size you're getting. But yeah, there we go. I'm dropping stuff all over the place tonight. That is just so awesome. There we go. But yeah, that's, you can hook up an LED to that. I will post in the comments later if I was correct on the positive over here. If the positive pin's there and the negative pin is over here on the opposite corner, because you gotta plug it right in. Literally have to plug positive pin literally right. I'm gonna zoom in here. Give me a second. That's my zoom in. I lift it up. But you literally have to plug the other pin, your positive pin, in right there next to your set. So it's on the 4th pin, you can say. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Technically the 8th pin. 4th pin on the top. 8th pin, if you're counting the number of pins. And then the negative lead will actually attach. Let me turn it so that way you're able to see it better. Right down here on the bottom corner. Literally the opposite corner of where you can physically plug into without counting the other pins. So let me plug that back in. Then that will just give you power for your LED. That's all that's going to do for you. That is, if you want to put an LED on the front. A lot of people would like to. And that's what they call the non-solder version of installing an LED. Because you can just pop the LED in there, stick these two guys on the back of the leads of the LED. Always remember on the LEDs, the longer end, the longer prong, the longer pin on the LED is positive. The shorter one is negative. You don't want to get those mixed up or you're going to wind up burning out an LED. And if you keep hooking it up the wrong way, you're going to wonder why you're burning out LEDs left and right. I had a little bit of an issue like that when I was putting one of my hacker boxes together. That was fun. Alright, let's go ahead and put this bad boy together. Back together, I should say. Of course, that won't be so much as of an issue. We'll just get the screw in there, back it out to get the grab. Easy peasy. Gotta remember to do the cross, like I was talking about earlier, that I did not do. But I usually only do that for the circuit boards. Oop, gotta hold this in my hand here. It's a little bit of a pain. I do have another case coming in the one that I was referring to earlier that was originally 20 bucks, and then the price got up to $40. And then it got up to, I think the final price was $69.99 before they pulled it off of Amazon. That's the NES, what do they call that? The NES Mini. Shoot, I have to click on my orders. I keep forgetting its name. I just fumble all over its name. Yeah, I want to call it the NesPi Mini. The NesPi case, which is a common term a lot of people use for their NesPi cases. I found them all over Thingiverse. Everybody call them NesPis. I'm like, yeah, technically. But now they got this one. It is injection molded. Luckily I got mine for 20 bucks. I should have grabbed a couple more. For some reason I did not. Okay, now that one's not one to go in. Right. They can get a little testy sometimes. But you just back it out. Drive it back in. And Bob's your uncle. See? Just kind of weird. Just typical screws going into a plastic casing. Okay. Now, we will insert the SD card. One thing oops. It's a little difficult to do. Especially with my big monkey fingers. But I got it in there. One thing I am doing, you can find these on Amazon. I haven't looked them up per se. But I do know, like the iBuffalo controller, Super Nintendo controller, USB of course. This is mine that I use. I like the candy, because I like the candy colored buttons, like what came on the Famicom. But I've had that for, wow, I think I've had this for like 4 years now. Quite a while. That's why it's kind of yellowish in color. That, or maybe it's just a different color than the normal plastic. Now the other controller that I use, it actually color matches my new case. And this is a RetroLink controller. You can get these anywhere from $12 to $15 on Amazon, depending on who's selling them. They are USB as well. And this one, I got this controller through my Nerd Block. I just opened it up one day and boom, I had a USB Super Nintendo controller. I was like, that's awesome. Now I've got two controllers. Because my fiance, she loves to play Super Mario. We've been playing that since we were kids, quite literally. Alright, time to power this up so that way you can hear the fan. Get my special handy dandy switch. Bought this on Amazon as well. This was $6.99. It's made by Love Our Pie. And we just plug her back into the port on the back. And the switch was already on. She's powering up. You can see the red LEDs on the inside there. Let me get the case a little close. I mean, you can barely hear it. It's just barely there. I like that. It's got a fan to help keep it cool inside this little case. And you barely hear the fan. I mean, I love that. Now, time to plug in my video lead there. I've already got it preloaded with some games. Oh, there she goes. She's starting up now. I also even went so far as to hold the button and device configure. Yeah, no, I forgot to plug it. Give me a break. I just did a no-no. I shut the switch off. Which, that would be great if there was a spot to put a power switch. I mean, you could probably get one of those, actually, right where the LED is at. I bought another tiny switch. It's a little, momentary switch. And it's got a power button on it. It's kind of small. It's about, shoot, I think it's about 10 millimeters across. But that's a perfect pilot hole. To open it up a little bit more, just use like a... Oh shoot, I forgot what it's called. I want to call it a drill tap. I ordered one on Amazon because I needed it for a special case that I'm doing later. I'm actually making a giant blue case. Not to get off track or anything. But I've got a big blue case that I ordered. It's about... I'd say it's about 10 inches across, 8 inches deep, and about 5 inches high. And it's blue. It's all metal. It's a blue case with white trim. And I got a bunch of Nintendo stickers that... One gamepad detected. And I got a bunch of Nintendo stickers that I bought from GameStop. And they're Mario stickers. I'm going to put that all over it. And I figured the blue would be a nice background for the sky. And then I can put my Mario stickers all around it and really decorate it up. Which that's going to be a cool project. I'm even still in the process of taking care of this bad boy. This is my little Chinese Nintendo that I bought. I made my previous video on. I'm waiting on, you could say, I'm waiting on my cords. I've got a couple cords coming in. I've got some special connectors. Which, you know, when everything starts popping through, I'll put links to it in the videos. Left trigger already taken. And I was not paying too much of what I was doing, and I totally buffed that up. You don't want to restart it too many times like that. That's why I want to put a power button on the front of this. Because I got off subject on a tangent there. But yeah, that's why I want to put a momentary push button on the front. So that way when I hit the momentary push button, I'll have some scripts I'm going to put into the system. They're pretty common out there. One guy already wrote the scripts and everybody uses and abuses the scripts like no one's business. And we're slowly booting up. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so that way you can see the boot. There we go. I am restarting my system just to show everyone what I did. So I just did Super Nintendo Pi splash screen because I thought that would fit the actual Super Nintendo Tinytendo Pi system. I think it works. The only thing that kind of bothers me is after the splash screen, then it still shows some pop-up script, but that's okay. I'm alright with that. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. But it's, you know, a start job is running for DHCP-CD on all interfaces. That's Dynamic Host Control Protocol. That's basically, that gets you your IP address. And as you can see, I went with a theme. I thought it'd be more close to Nintendo. I'm not sure what theme I really should go with. This is what's called the Nintendo Switch Lite. Because there is a Nintendo Switch Dark, which would darken the screen pretty much. Let's see, I only put Super Nintendo stuff on here. I mean, I know I can probably put some regular Nintendo on here. Maybe get away with it, you know, some NES. Not so much Nintendo 64 because the Raspberry Pi has a little bit issues on some Nintendo 64 games. And I know you can tweak it, but I prefer to get a little bit more powerful board. That's why I want to try out the Banana Pi in this unit next, because that should give me a little bit more oomph. See, and then this is what it looks like when you go in to choose your games. I've only got a couple of Donkey Kong Country, Earthworm Jim, F-Zero, Super Mario World. I know I am missing a few that I would really love to have on here. But, yeah, always classic. At least those are the four main classics. That, and there's Draken, or Dokken. I'm probably not even saying it right. Draken. It's like, I don't know. Let's go into Mario. Turn that down so I don't get hit with no DRMs. But we can put it for a second. just typical Raspberry Pi, everything. As you can tell, I just set this card up tonight. I mean, I know there's a lot of videos out there on setting up your Raspberry Pi for play. So, if you don't like any of the videos out there, you want me to do a video on it, hey, let me know. Comment in the section below. And I will go and I will actually even put up documents, because I do this at work. I call it making, basically it's like documents for dummies. I use actual pictures and, just little one-line sentences to basically set it up. I mean, I know you gotta, depending on what you want to do, you have to pop in some text and whatnot, for your scripts. But, usually 9 times out of 10, if you're just setting up, basic, you don't have to do, too much. You don't have to know programming and whatnot. Sometimes it's nice to know somebody that does, so that way if you need something special programmed, like a power switch, they could go in and put it in the right place, and you don't have to go in and monkey up everything. So that is the gameplay. It's pretty much standard gameplay. And this is that retro link controller. It actually feels the same as a standard official controller. The D-pad is a little stiff, but it's brand new. I've barely used it, so I'm gonna have that issue. But that's that's normal. And back out. But yeah, there's all sorts of menus you can come up with. There's actually one, and they call it UI settings. We go switch light. There's Trunky fan. That's a pretty nice one. Super display. I don't remember what that one looks like. Let's take a gander, shall we? I know it's a 32-minute video already, possibly 30 minutes, but you can bear. Ooh, see, that looks pretty nice. I've got Doom installed on it. Don't judge. There's the RetroPie config screen. Then there's the Super Nintendo screen for your Super Nintendo games. And you always got to have Super Mario World, regardless. I mean, that was the basic game that came with the console. Nowadays, you could go out and drop $400, $500, $600 on a console and not even get a game. That's one thing that's irritating me about the Nintendo Switch. I went to buy one. They want $400 just for the Nintendo Switch at GameStop. Actually, and then they want $450 if you want it with, like, Mario Kart or something. I'm like, or Legend of Zelda, which I'm really leaning on popping on that because I really want to play that. But yeah, that's what the menu looks like on that, which is pretty nice. That really fits. I mean, shoot, it even shows you the picture of the Super Nintendo. Granted, and see, you can even see in the picture there, just in case people are wondering what color the LED actually was, in case anybody forgot, you don't have a Super Nintendo laying around. The LED actually was red. I don't know if you could see it too well in the video, but that little puppy's red. So, yeah, I'm going to go die-hard extremist, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to put a red LED in mine. Just simply because that way, for the nostalgia of it. Just kind of corny. Let's see what this looks like on Simple. See, Simple, this one looks kind of cool too. I love this one. It works with the system. I mean, come on and match it. Hey, I can feel the fan spinning a little. Hey, you can't hardly see it. I got the lights turned off to get better resolution because I don't have a video capture device anymore. It died a couple of years ago, 5 years ago to be exact. I was using it to capture video off of old camcorders, and she pretty much broke. Well, not broke. It died, and there was no more software updates for it. They were like, the company went under, so I was like, So I didn't think I'd need a capture device again. And then here I go, starting to make Raspberry Pi projects, and I'm like, well, I think I need a capture device again. Probably not all that much, unless I get into really configuring these guys. That was NBBA. Oh, this Mario Blue. This one, you could pretty much say, is perfect for the Tinytendo. I mean, because you got Super Mario theme running along the bottom there, and then you just got little blocks up on top to select your console system. And then when you go in, you get a nice screenshot, a big map screenshot of some levels in Super Mario World. Actually, that's Super Mario 3. if I'm correct. I could be wrong. But that looks like a Super Mario 3 theme in the background. Because you got the blocks down the bottom. Who knows? That's just babbling. In just case, you know, I'm just showing you guys these, just in case nobody's seen some of them. Some people don't even know that some of these themes exist. This one's called Futura V, which is kind of weird. I mean, yeah, okay, it looks futuristic. I'm like, maybe if I set up a futuristic looking console, I could go with that. Then the clean look. Of course, everybody should know this one. And I mean, it's literally clean look. I like it because, you know, it shows blurred out game splotches in the background. And then Doom. Here we go. Clean look. Carbon. I'm not a big fan of Carbon. Carbon's just the basic theme that the console, you know, that the Raspberry Pi, when you install RetroPie onto your SD card, that's what it's set up with from the get-go. I mean, this one's pretty cool. I mean, it shows you game carts and cartridges. At least in there, it does. I don't have it set up in here, but I think there's one theme that actually will just show you the game cards. But I don't want to mess around with that too much. I just like looking at the pretty pictures. Trunky fan. This is one of my favorites. This could also go along. Because boom. You just got that big Super Nintendo on the screen. It's like, pfft, it's out there. Of course, when you go to the ports, then it shows you a keyboard. RetroPie, looks like a live-action version of the RetroPie logo. A cupcake with a sucker stuck in the middle for a joystick. But yeah, that's the basic others. I'm going back to my Switch Lite because, oh, Super Display. I ran right by that one earlier. No, maybe I didn't. Let's go into the Super Nintendo one. Yeah, I'm not really feeling it because it's a Super Display, but it looks like there's like some kind of old gray cedar board or something on the back for the background. Yeah, not feeling it. It looks nice, but it's just not for me. I think I did the simple one already. Yeah, I already did the simple one. That looks cool, but gotta go back to the shack. There we go. I like that one better. Just feels a lot cleaner than all the others. And it's perfect. You know, it fits with the main theme. Still can't get a lock on. Nope. I need a spotlight, apparently. But I really like that. If you listen really close, I don't know if the microphone's going to pick it up or not. You can hear the fan spinning. She's kicked into high gear. Probably because it got a little warm. But that's okay. It's just like a small hum. You can barely hear it. Like if you were walking in a room, you just... Like if you own a computer or a laptop, it's actually... to equate it out to something, it's about as loud as a laptop. You know, when its fans start to kick on and cool it off. But that is the Super Tinytendo. I really like it. I didn't know if I was going to like it or not. $30 though. It's like, I sprung for it. And I have a matching controller, which, you know, you can find them for $12 on Amazon. Possibly 15, depends on how much they want to scalp you for. I mean, you can't get too cheap, obviously. And then there's the Buffalo, I've had that for 4 years now. That's my favorite controller so far. I paid $12 for it. That was 4 years ago. You can still get them for $12. You just gotta catch them on sale. Sometimes if you get a super sale, like a Black Friday sale, you can get them for $9.99. But I wouldn't wait that long. That's too long to wait to get a controller for your Tinytendo. I really love that little puppy there. I just can't wait till I get my NesPi in. That's got 2 more weeks to get here. And then I'll give you a review of that one too. As soon as I get this little guy out of here. Remember this guy from the first video? I gotta get him pulled out of there. The case is locked up somehow. Haven't figured out how that happened, but I might have to break the case to free my Raspberry Pi from its confines. But yeah, go ahead and like the video. If you like the video, go ahead and like it at the bottom. Leave a comment below. If anybody can recommend good video capture cards, go ahead and leave that in the comments below. Open any criticisms, good or bad. But I will see you guys later.